Hey, Bill, Happy New Year. It's Pat Mullins reaching out to you. I just thought I would just pass along my best wishes for the holiday season, and also just to share my gratitude for you having me on your podcast this year. You and I have talked many times since that episode where I shared my journey, both as a veteran and as a man navigating, my personal challenges, and in our conversations, I've been very surprised and humbled that my words, that my experiences have impacted some of your listeners in a profound way. And I can just say that what you're doing on the Coffee and Change podcast is nothing short of amazing. The fact that you're giving voice to people, to their trauma, to their experiences, to their life lessons, and using that to impact your audience is very commendable. And I'm very proud of you and the work that you're doing. So thanks for letting me be a small part of that. I'm very grateful for you, for your friendship, for the body of work that you're putting together. Keep up the great work in 2026. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Happy New Year, Bill! Congrats on going into your 10th podcast season. I was so honored to be included this year, and I always learn so much in our conversations. Here's the adventures and episodes ahead in 2026. Cheers!
Hey, welcome back. This is episode 160. I thought we were going to end on 159, but I had a conversation with my dad. He said, almost 10 years. Why not just end on 160? Average 16 episodes a year. So I thought, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll do something called a listen back. So the question I kept keeping was what the conversations changed in me this season, season 9. So I thought I would reflect on a little bit of a look back or a listen back on this past season. So this isn't a recap, it's more of a pause. Over the course of these conversations this past year, something changed in me. It wasn't all at once, and it wasn't done loudly, but consistently enough that I couldn't unsee it. Season 9 of the Coffee and Change podcast wasn't shaped to be a season of answers. It landed more like a season of remembering how to be human, and realizing how often we wait for permission to do exactly that. I didn't plan season 9. I received it. There were reunions, there were returns, there were conversations that took their time. Nothing was optimized. Not one conversation rushed. No over-engineering to land some sort of takeaway. Just honesty and vulnerability. I found myself sitting with people who had lived a lot of life. Pilots, veterans, artists, executives, parents, an Uber driver, an admiral in his 90s. And what struck me wasn't what they knew. It was how carefully they spoke. There was a slowness this season, a willingness to let silence sit in the room, a sense that no one was trying to prove they belonged, including me. That alone changed something. After a while, a pattern emerged. Different lives, different careers, different generations. The same ache. I heard it in Matt Van Fossen's reflections on leadership and responsibility, in the way he talked about choosing integrity even when it cost you. I heard it with Christy Jones as she spoke about writing a book not for status, but because she had something she owed the world. I heard it in Shauna Rasmussen's voice as she talked about slowing down, not as retreat, but as wisdom earned. I heard it in Chris Lovett's quiet insistence that less is not failure, that simplicity isn't giving up, it's coming home. I heard it when Patrick Mullins talked about breaking cycles of trauma, not dramatically, not heroically, just deliberately. And then there were the moments that surprised me. Levi Spires, sitting in his car, talking about 14,000 Uber rides, 14,000 brief intersections of humanity. People confessing, grieving, celebrating, sitting in silence, and him choosing to notice. No spotlight, no platform, just presence. That's when I realized something important. This season wasn't about expertise. It was about permission. What kept showing up was permissionlessness. Not rebellion for rebellion's sake. Something quieter, older. People had stopped asking certain questions. They weren't asking, is this allowed? Is this sufficient? Will this be rewarded? They were asking different questions entirely. Is this true? Is this mine to carry? Can I live with myself if I don't? You could hear it in Nate Amadon's story about veterans translating leadership without needing to cosplay toughness. You could hear it in Lisa Cassidy Manning's decision to step away from a long, successful corporate career, not because something was broken, but because something inside her had changed. You could hear it in Tim Creasy's careful language discussing AI. Not fear, not hype, but discernment. And maybe the most striking thing, no one was asking for applause. No one was performing their healing. They weren't trying to be inspirational. They were just telling the truth. That kind of honesty doesn't ask for permission. It assumes it. This is where the season quietly took a stand. In a world begging us to speak faster, listening became an act of refusal. I think about sitting across from Admiral Inman, 94 years old, a life shaped by service, selfless service, and profound consequence. What struck me wasn't his resume. It was how much attention he paid to people. Mentors, students, friends. Listening as an act of stewardship. I think about Shannon Scarcelletta bringing improv into leadership. Not to make work fun, but to make it human again, especially in these times we are in. Invite in the messy, the unscripted, the responsive. I think about how often guests paused mid-sentence, chose their words, corrected themselves even. Not for optics, but for accuracy. Listening slowed us down. It resisted flattening. It refused to turn people into talking points. And somewhere along the way, it reminded me, attention is not neutral. Where we place it matters. So, what changed in me this last year? I'm carrying questions now that I cannot unask. Where am I still waiting for permission? What parts of myself have I optimized instead of honored? Who benefits when I stay quiet? I'm less interested in sounding right, more interested in being honest, less compelled to rush to meaning, and more willing to sit with it. Season 9 didn't give me answers. It gave me companions. People walking the same terrain from different directions. And that changed me. I don't think the work in seasons ahead are about being louder. I think this is all about being truer. If these conversations offered anything, it wasn't instruction. It was recognition. A quiet nod between people who know what it costs to stay human in systems that reward forgetting. So as we step into season 10, I'm reminded to be less interested in having the right answers and far more interested in asking better questions. And maybe the most important one is this: where in your life are you still waiting for permission to be who you already are?